What's up, everybody? I just got back. Well, yesterday I went to the Janet Jackson concert here in Toronto. It was cool. I actually missed maybe like the first half an hour of her performing, apparently, or possibly even more, unfortunately. The song I really wanted to hear was "What Have You Done for Me Lately?" Shit. It's funny. I heard that at the grocery store maybe about a month ago or something like that. A month. I just remember I was shopping and it came on. I was like, oh my God, I love this song. I haven't heard this shit in a minute. And just the chorus and the whole vibe. And even what she's saying, hating on the brothers. It's all right. We'll take it. We'll take it. We'll get better, my dear. Anyway. The fact of the matter is I had wanted to hear that and some other joints. So the joints that I actually wanted, like my favorite Janet joints, she did them like before I got there. And what was stupid of me is I look at it was my fault because the doors opened at 8 and I was like, I'm used to rap. These rap niggas not taking us seriously as listeners and things. So I was like, oh, if the doors open at 8, Janet's not going to get on until 10 o'clock, So let me get there around 9:30. I got there around 9:30 and she was already performing. So again, it goes to show you, like, I think some of these legacy acts, and shout out to Janet, like they don't waste time. They don't play that shit. Like I've heard stories about rappers. Obviously I've experienced this, rappers, singers, newer singers, of course, not from Janet's era, who, doors open at 8 or 9 or 10 and the singer doesn't come on till 1, 2 in the morning. So, I just didn't want that to happen to me. So that's why I kind of had things to do. So that's why I showed up a little late, but I missed it. But the song that she performed that I was like, oh my God, I forgot about the song. I haven't heard the song in years was, I think it's called Again. Again or some shit. Anyways, I can't sing and I'm not about to expose myself like that on camera. But let's talk about why you're really here. You're here to hear more about Drizzy and K-Dot Minaj. But before we do that, let me set the scene and play a beat that I'm feeling with. Shout out to Ann Milano. This is dope, man. Like, for a throwback kind of beat, I could totally rock out to this and just listen to, For all you 90s impersonators, hit up Ann Milano, right? All right. What do I want to talk about? Well, I don't care if Drake or Kendrick sleep with minors. I know, shocking, right? I tell it to you guys raw because honestly, I think it's time to keep it real. Enough of the bullshit. I hear a lot of bullshit these days, a lot of virtue signaling. I'm tired of it, frankly. So let me explain what I mean by that, because I think obviously some people are going to be like, oh my God. Obviously, I'm not a fan of any kind of sexual abuse. Okay, I think that's pretty obvious. And I think that anybody who does abuse should be persecuted for that shit, right? According to the law, obviously. But what I'm trying to get at is something even deeper, because ultimately, it's not really my concern what an artist does in their private life. I know that, this goes back to people, the mob, the virtue signaling. A lot of people like to police their celebrities and things like that. It's really weird because they want their celebrities simultaneously to act out and do all the things that they wish they had the balls to do. But at the same time, they also want to sort of muzzle their celebrities and make sure that the celebrities don't overstep their boundaries or whatever, in a sense, and don't make them feel uncomfortable by doing unique shit, right? So it's a weird game that obviously the public, and I'm saying this like generally, play with artists and particularly people that they deem to be celebrities. Now, the thing that I have a problem with when it comes to this conversation about what Drake is doing and who he's screwing and all this kind of stuff and the pedophile stuff, which I think is ridiculous. Ultimately, because there's no proof of any of this stuff, right? It would be different if there was actual proof he was being investigated by the feds or something. Then I could say, okay, well, there's some sort of precedent for this. But for you to just essentially spit libel on somebody, I think it's pretty wild, actually. And look, virtual signaling or self-righteous anger to me is like literally the worst. I can't stand that kind of personality, because really in its grand scheme of things, it's all about holding others to a standard that you don't hold to yourself. And to me, those are the worst kind of people. You know, like, it's like calling Drake a culture vulture, yet you're not addressing the real issues of Kendrick vulturing black trauma from Compton and gang life, right? Like, they're the same thing in the grand scheme of things. Someone outside of the community, right, in particular, and you could argue Drake, you know, sort of Kendrick is somewhat inside of it, whatever. But he's exploiting people, right, for personal gain, right? I mean, it's a time-old problem. It's like calling, you know, Drake a pedophile or whatever, but you're not going to address the fact that Kendrick routinely puts gangs, just like his West Coast forefathers, on a pedestal, and constantly celebrates gang life in his little slick ways, which has led to the deaths of thousands of black youth worldwide. Shit, in Compton alone, let's say, right? Not to talk about worldwide, so you might even be getting to millions and propagating that gang bullshit, right? And so my thing is, if you're not willing to interrogate yourself, but you're always spending time interrogating others, that's literal terrorist shit. This is again, I come back to this political thing, because this is what we see with the pro-Hamas supporters on the streets. They have no problems trying to hold Israel to really an impossible virtuous standard. Israel, if you don't feed every Palestinian citizen ever, I think Palestinian, if you don't feed them and there's 0 deaths, then you're the evil, you're genocidal, and completely ignore that the people they're waving pom-poms for are genocidal killers, Hamas, who kill Palestinians and have been killing Palestinians even before they attacked Israel, right? And Palestinians themselves have been complaining about Gaza and complaining about Hamas. We want to live campaigns and everything. You can look this shit up. I'm not making this stuff up. So again, if you have a position and you're coming from a position of virtue, and you're not willing to interrogate your own virtue or your own virtue, then you're a fraud and a clown. And I don't really have interest in that, right? At the end of the day, Kendrick, when he had this little show or whatever, he didn't bring up lawyers, grandmothers, bus drivers and stuff in a grand celebration. Not from what I saw. What I saw was him bringing up a bunch of gang niggas. You know what I'm saying? To, you know, do the little silly crick walk. Now, again, with all due respect, I'm a civilian. So, like, you know, I'm not pretending to be gang. To me, gang shit is pretty stupid and leads to destruction. That's the truth of the matter. I haven't seen it do anything positive. Let's be real, right? And no matter how many times hip-hop tries to spin it as some kind of positive thing, it never ends up that way, right? So how often do we have to see this before we realize, you know, actually this gang shit's pretty stupid and we should just cease it, period, right? Again, this is my whole point. Like, now, this is not the reason that I dislike Kendrick. Prior, you know, maybe contrary to what some of y'all believe, I'm from Toronto, so I'm not gonna like Kendrick or whatever. That has nothing to do with it, okay? Snoop and Dre and a lot of these West Coast artists, even Ice Cube and all of them, were all selling gang, right? I mean, that's the LA thing. That's what they brought to the table. They brought, yo, look, white America, we got gangs. Isn't this exciting? And people went, wow, yes, right? Now, I fuck with Snoop. I love Snoop's music, and I love Dre's music, right? Because they were good artists, right? Ultimately, they made good music. Kendrick doesn't make good music. That's my issue with Kendrick. Kendrick is actually not good at all. And he relies on virtue signaling, essentially, him and his audience with bots and the whole nine, to boost his, you know, his credentials or boost his visibility. And obviously that's lame to me, because I'm looking at it being like, you're not remotely on Drake's level. Okay, Drake is not virtual signaling. He's actually making music, and, you know, by the merits of his music, he's winning, essentially, right? So again, my thing is this, and I want to keep it real simple here and short. I think that ultimately, when I look at art, I'm able to separate art and artists, right? Because to me, art is not made in a vacuum, and it's usually not made by one person anyway, right? Drake is a compilation of multiple people and multiple ideas, right? I mean, yes, he may be the spearhead of a song, but ultimately there are other people involved. Just like the same with Kendrick. So that's why I have really strange like when people start talking about canceling people and canceling artists, it's a little odd to me, because I'm like, well, what about the other people that worked with that artist who didn't do anything, who didn't commit crimes or whatever? It's just a check for them. So you want to hurt their livelihood in the process? Like, again, how weird is this? And look, I understand that if you're an artist who's caught up in doing illegal activity, and especially if you have a certain circle, chances are people in your circle were involved in helping you do illegal activity, and they too should also suffer from the consequences of the law. I'm not against that. But what I am trying to say is, ultimately, compassion is the way forward. Okay, not virtual signaling is not compassion. It really isn't. It's hypocrisy and arrogance at its core. That's all it is. And really, it's about power grabbing. That's what this stuff is about. It's about, oh, you know, I don't really have the talent and the chops to compete with this person, so I'm going to go the virtue angle to chop them down. And those, again, are the worst people. They're mediocre as hell. And we see this constantly in modern day. Hopefully it comes to an end sometime soon. It probably won't. But this is what I would argue smart people can see a mile away, right? So enough of the virtual signaling. If you don't like Drake, you don't like Drake because his music sucks to you. You just don't like the music, okay? But to sit here and talk about, yo, I heard Drake had a cabal and, you know, he had a haram of 10 girls a week. Like, nigga, you're supposed to. He's a famous rapper. I don't give a shit. I don't care, okay? I don't care. I'm not dick police, okay? I'm not dick police with Drake. I'm not dick police with Kendrick. I could care less. Okay, they're running through 1,000 girls a day. I could care less. I know that, again, this is the thing to me that's interesting about the morality police, the dick police. It comes from this weird, like, puritanical place where it's like, oh, you know, clutch, pearl clutching and shit. But it's like you're a cornball, right? Like, at the end of the day, if you're really sitting down thinking all day about how Drake may or may not be dealing with minors, and you're not law enforcement, I don't want to say kill yourself, but you get what I'm trying to say. Let law enforcement handle that, okay? Like, that's not your job. That's not your responsibility. That's not what you should be thinking about on a day-to-day basis, okay? Enjoy the music for what it is. Get about with your own life, okay? And interrogate your damn self, all right? That's all I'm going to say on that, man. Peace.